Hello, this is an evening with Paladin. Um, I am finished with the day. I'm with my trusty little Sadie Ann. Hello, Sadie Ann. And we've had a very eventful day. We're still suffering a bit from the plague of the black. I don't know what created it, but neither here nor there. We're headed to Miami, and then at 10 o'clock in the morning, we'll take an American Airlines flight to St. Croix, where we will stay at the Comanche, and we'll go to a symposium hosted by Trading Consultants. That's us. That symposium will be the kickoff for LeafyGram, a one-stop virtual cornucopia of everything related to cannabis. The symposium will go for a couple hours. Then we'll have a meet and greet with some of the dignitaries of St. Croix. And maybe the governor will even stop by and say hello. But either way, we are going to extend our gift of wellness care to every inhabitant who is of legal age in St. Croix. This will come with no cost to them. They simply make a phone call, establish an account that we will give to them individually, and for the next 2 weeks, anyone and everyone who is a registered voter in St. Croix and is of legal age will be given access to healthcare wellness advocates free of charge. It'll go like this. I'd like to open an account with, absolutely, now that we have an account established, would you like to have a wellness advocate talk with you? And you'll say yes. And you'll pick out something that you want to talk about related to health and wellness. A lot of women like to talk about their skin because they take a lot of money into lotions and potions. And one of the things that I encourage them to do is say, is there something that I could be doing on my skin instead of putting it on my skin, preparing my skin for more elasticity? And we would say, yes, we have clinical research to support collagen and elasticity with a protocol that we've created. Would you like to have the clinical research on those particular ingredients? Yes. Would you like to have the protocol that we know works when used properly? Yes. Would you like to have our recommendation on how to use and to ingest it? Yes. So we'll send you an email that includes all three. You'll have clinical research, you know, the real tiny stuff that they talk about where you've got double-blind studies saying this works if you do this. And then you'll have protocols, and we have over 7,000 of them in the cable. And then you'll have specific recommendations. The email comes to you. You know what it's going to cost you? Zero. Now, I know that's going to be hard for you to believe, but that's the way it's going to be. So when we are at the symposium, we're going to give this gift to the governor and to the high-ranking officials that attend the symposium. Then at the end of the night, I get to close right before the chairman and the founder of LeafyGram closes, and I have 5 minutes to explain why health and wellness are as important to you as money. Because without health and wellness, money's not really valuable. And we're going to explain why we think the gift that we're going to give to St. Croix is so valuable. And then we're going to close by saying, let me tell you something. After your health and wellness, you can make a lot of money, and then you want to enjoy it. So why not learn to grow it, ingest it, buy it, sell it, medically use it? Because cannabis is going to be the next cash crop in St. Croix. And LeafyGram Cabinet is going to be the titular head for all of it. And I want to reintroduce you and to say thank you to Earl Phillips, who's the gentleman responsible for bringing us here tonight. So Earl, thank you so much for making me aware of LeafyGram Our relationship goes back to 2016, I think. I was a volunteer with the Trump campaign, and many of you probably don't know that Earl was the first minority hired by the Trump campaign. And he delivered North Carolina just like a tablet. And Earl went on to venture capital, and let me say, Earl has hit really good times. And I consider him a friend and a very brilliant man, and a man you can count on and rely on. So that's enough about where I'm going to be going. So 10 o'clock, 10:52, American Airlines. I sit down in St. Croix. I've got about a 21-minute drive using an economy car, and we'll go from there. So let's talk about the lone Forex traders. We are currency traders, and we do it in a way that not many people say can be done. And from 524 to 625, I documented 8 pages of blotter examples, not examples, but actual trades, and I only missed 2, and they were buttons. And you said, you can't do that. I said, I just did it. Tahir Khan, who's a hedge manager in Cyprus, and Joseph Lackland know that I did it, and there were 2 other people that were monitoring. And so the hedge funds boys were just all over me. They were going to throw money at me because they knew that I had something big. And I guess I got cocky, I got arrogant, and I've got a lot of different accounts. And I fell asleep thinking that gold was going from 2070 all the way to 3,000. And thanks to Mr. Rickards, R-I-C-K-A-R-D-S, who always gives you the false. He's a globalist, and he's known for giving you false bullshit. And I fell for it, and I went long on gold at 2070, and it's taken a while to get back into the $1,900 level. So let me say, ouch. So my $1 million account, where I brought in $1 million from the U.S. into the U.S., I was 8.7% up for the month, from 527 to 624. And when I was through with my gold debacle, I'm down to $380,000, give or take. And I had never had to bring an account back that aggressively. I just chalk it off, start again. But I wanted to prove to myself that I could do that. How long would it take me to bring back $1 million to 380 back to zero? So that 524 till 920, 6, 7, 8, 9, 4 months, could I bring it back to zero so I would have no net loss in the account? And the answer is yesterday I did it. And Lee Larson saw the end. So the money's going back. Maybe I'll keep it here, I don't know. But I know this. Those hedge fund managers know I know what I'm doing. And since I'm Paladin, I don't really care if I lose it or not, because I can make more. And this is one of the things that we're going to bring to all of our people. And it's going to be trading consultants, private placement. I'm not going to allow anybody to invest more than $10,000. We're going to create a structure that we can guarantee that you won't have any loss. And we're going to take $1 million in your investment, and then we're going to match it with our $1 million, and that gives us $2 million, your investment and our investment, and we're going to double your return in 12 months. And we're going to guarantee no loss. So that's going to be a gift that we'll be explaining to the people that are on my gifting tree. And right now there's 78,522 of you, and my doji boys are adding people every day. Because what happened when college started, I was fascinated with building relationships, and I had done Dale Carnegie, Win Friends and Influence People, and really believed that relationships were the core of business. And so I just started writing down little notes about people, and I'd do a little 3 by 5 index file, and I'd put them away and put them away and put them away, knowing that someday I would figure out a way to do something with it. Well, email came. And so I would call people if I had a phone number or I had a friend to connect them down, and I'd get an email. And you'd be surprised how few people have really changed their home email for 20 years. I've had SMG 102152 for 20 years. Now I've got a lot of other emails, but primary SMG 102152 at Gmail. And so now I've got about, well, give me 76,000 people of people that I'm going to give gifts to. And so every week to 10 days, I'm going to send an email that says, hey, here's a gift. And I'm going to explain how it works. And you can take the gift, ignore the gift, or either unsubscribe and never want to talk to me again. And if that's the case, you'll just unsubscribe to NOSBIGS with info@nosbigs.com, and I'll never bother you again. I think it'd be pretty foolish, because the first gift is worth about $150,000 in my world, and it won't cost you a dime. Because they are gifts. There's no hidden agenda. So if you want to take advantage of them, that's great. If you don't want to take advantage of them, that's great. But one of the things that I'm going to be teaching you is how to trade currency. And we're going to create an app that will be through Joseph Lackland. And Joseph is going to automate my system, the 5-step process. And according to Joe, it's a pretty simple thing. He said, it can't be as simple as you make it. I said, yeah, it can't be. Tell you a story. This is an aside. As I'm trying to do my first venture deal, I'm an opportunity to go in front of Rod Canyon, who was the creator and the founder of Compact Computer, and that's the precursor to HP. So I think I'm going in to meet Rod Canyon at the boardroom in Compact Computer, and he's thrown me a curveball. He says, meet me at the House of Pies, which is a little, I guess it's an all-night diner, but they have really good pie, and it's sort of known in Houston area as the House of Pies and the House of Guys. Yeah, it's a swishy place. And so I arrive, and I'm a few minutes late because it really threw me off, and Rod is having his coffee, and he says, are we ready? And I said, well, it'll take me a little bit of time to set up a charts and graphs. You know, I really want to be prepared. I thought I was going to be in the boardroom. And he said, oh, you don't need any charts and graphs? Hell, you can explain it to me. Let's go. So I'm really verklempt now. And so as I start, and he said, whoa. And it was like death. He said, you have a fine pedigree. You have a Duke University degree, economics, a Pepperdine degree, an MBA. As I understand it, you're a Lehman Brothers broker, and you're an Oppenheimer vice president, and now you're doing venture. And he said, but I don't understand why you needed charts and graphs. And I'm going, I need to explain because I've got about an hour and a half for each day. He says, no. I'm a very simple man. So if you can't explain your idea and what you want to achieve in 15 minutes or less, and on the back of a napkin, you don't understand it well enough to talk with me. So, okay, what I'm going to do. I'm going to close the meeting, and I wish you well. And my advice to you is, if you can't put it on a napkin and explain it in 15 minutes or less, you don't know it well enough to talk to people that really want to know if you know it. And he never saw me again. Now, so I'm guided by that. Now, if I can't explain it to you in 15 minutes or less, I haven't done a good enough job, or you don't listen very well. And I'm finding that a lot of people don't listen very well anymore because they don't adhere to the 4-to-1 rule. Here's the lesson. The 4-to-1 rule. Did God give you 2 ears? Yes. What are they for? To hear and listen. Yes. How many eyes did he give you? 2. And they are for the eye just look, perceive, and understand. How many mouths did he give you? 1. And when you're talking, what happens? You're speaking. But you're speaking about things that you already know. So if God gave you two of these and two of these, he must want you to watch, observe, and see, hear, and listen, and understand 4 times as much as talk about yourself. So if you have learned the 4-to-1 rule and the napkin 15-minute rule, and Dale Carnegie, win friends and influence people, and the finest people, 7 degrees of separation, you know everybody in the world. Pretty cool, eh? I think so. Take a minute and have a couple of moments for my dad. Some of you may know that he passed away on the 17th through nosocomial death, and that's when the doctors have an error, or I call it death by doctor. And I'm having a struggle with whether or not to sue them, Piedmont Healthcare, or to just allow my father to be in peace with his dear bride, Jared, or Peony Dear as he called it. And I still don't know. I've already retained what I call piranhas, and they've said, you don't want any cash from this settlement? I said, no. I just want the woman's license and assurance that she'll never do anything again. And if there is any proceeds left over, they'll go to the Iredale Nurses Foundation. But I'm still struggling as to whether or not to execute and turn the piranhas loose. Bruce Seaton was my DO for 20 years, and he just dropped me like a hot potato. And so he did the corporate thing, the safe thing. But I want to leave this information. If he will leave me on the drop of a hat because a nosocomial death, a damn PA that screwed up a warfarin levels that we knew not to do. And this PA was telling me, you, talking about me, are not a doctor. I'm the doctor. And your father has total confidence in me. And he would say, well, Stevie, you know a lot of the shit about those herbs and those supplements, but let's leave the doctrine to them. So on the last day of my father's life, he looked at me and he said, I guess you're right. They killed me. I said, you're right. They killed you. And I said, but Dad, they brought you back. And Dr. Pence, our hospitalist, says, we've got a rough road home, but she can get you there. And he looked at me and said, I don't want a rough road home. I'm tired. I've got sepsis, I've got staph, I've got pain, and while I'm out of intensive care, they tell me it's a long road and I just want to go home to be with Mama. And that's what he called Peony Dear. And I said, Dad, don't talk like that. And then he proceeded the next 40 minutes to give me 37 items that had to be cleared before he was ready to die. So I took them down. I said, Dad, Dr. Pence is going to come in at 2 o'clock. She's going to tell you everything's going to be fine. We've already started rehab. Everything's going to be fine. He said, I ain't going. So sure enough, Dr. Pence came in, talked to him, and he said, Dr. Pence, I appreciate everything you've done for me, but I'm going home to be with my wife. And Dr. Pence says, don't talk like that. We'll start your rehab tomorrow. So at 8:53, he makes his last phone call to Ricky Exline, his best friend. And we're not really sure exactly what Dad said because it was a lot of mumbling and he was almost gone. But I can tell you this. He said, Ricky, you've been a good friend. I've given you cars, I've given you boats, I've given you money, and you never took any of it. And all you ever asked was to be your friend. And I can tell you, you're the best friend a man could have. So, with that said, 15 minutes later, he was passed. He was dead. So, he died on his own terms, and he left me a beautiful, beautiful estate, which was processed 6/17, and 92 days later, the estate was settled, and the money is in the hands of the people he intended it to be in the hands of. There was no disputation. There was no question about whether or not who owned what. And the only thing we're going to do is sue the hell out of Hayworth Miller because they don't understand what time is of the essence is, and we'll come to them later. Look, this will be another thing. Let's just say this. You need to know what time is of the essence means, and if you don't know it, you need to understand it's a legal term. And so if you accept a contract with time is of the essence, it means you have to do everything reasonably possible to do it as quickly as you can. And Hayworth Miller failed miserably. I was able to handle the death certificate process in a period of 8 hours, and they still had not completed the death certificate process in 29 days. During that time, my father's portfolio was at risk and could have cost us $70,000 to $90,000. It didn't, but it could have. And all they would have had to do, I was there at Hayworth Miller on 5/18, and I explained to the young man, I said, time is of the essence here, and Dr. Pence even sent a faxed copy of the death document and said, we're ready to go. So all you have to do is to make sure it goes out to the other people, and that's the health department, and then there, and we're ready to go. And 28 days later, they gave me every excuse about our deal had COVID. They didn't have it. So on, I think, 5/28, 5/29, I come from Mooresville to Hayworth Miller, and I said, I want the new, you do the 1/3 where you have to do it, and then I'll send it to Dr. Pence and do the next third, and then the last third will be handled by the health department. And I'll get it all done, and we did it in 7.5 hours. And we documented it. So I'm really upset, but things can happen like that. And so all I asked the owners were to make sure that everyone knew what time is of the essence is, and that you don't have to have a funeral director to close a death certificate. You don't have to do it. You can do it yourself as an executor. And they assured me that they would. And I said, I'd really prefer to be able to do a 15-minute presentation to all of your people. Not necessary, everything's going to be fine. So I checked. So we have 4 audio recordings of people at their location that said it had to be handled by a funeral director or his nominee, and that people that were regular folk couldn't do it, and they would have to do it by snail mail because of COVID. Not once, 2, 3 times, but 4 times. So that was what they were told. So either the owners lied and didn't do it, or they did a shitty job of selling it. And so I wasn't going to pay them. And you find out that in the state of North Carolina, before you just settle the state, you have to settle the funeral bill. Isn't that interesting? So I'm going to trash their reputation. They've already gotten notice, and this is just letting you know, Hayworth Miller Funeral Home is really a lying, cheating group of people, in my opinion, based on the fact that they didn't understand and didn't honor my request of time is of the essence. And we got documentation to prove that they ignored it, and we've got audio recordings that they absolutely, they meaning their local people, their people on the front lines, didn't understand it, ignored it, or didn't give a damn. Any one of those is going to cause their reputation to be worth about $2. So I went up and paid gladly, got a zero balance, proved that I had paid every bill. And I said, here's $2. And I think her name was Janelle. She said, what's this for? I said, that's what your reputation is going to be worth, unless you allow me to present what should be told to all your people. And she said, I said, you got 5 minutes to make a decision. And she made a decision to ignore me. So there's her reputation, and I'm going to trash it. And probably once every 2 weeks, I'm going to trash it. And then I'm going to put it into 75,000 people. I'm going to trash it. And then if it takes me 250,000 people, Hayworth Miller's reputation is going to be trashed forever. Or they're going to apologize and do some type of ceremony to pay homage to my father. And at this point, I want all the money back. So let's think about it. That's about 24 minutes, and probably want to stop at about 30. So with the last 6 minutes, I want to tell you about Nospigs. Where in the world is Nospigs? And so, as I may have told you, I have, the way I calculate it, about 52 weeks of timeshare. Some people say 70, but I got a lot of timeshare. And I am trying the process to take a trip around the world. and it's going to be Puducherry, India, where Doji guys are, and Adam Yusen Shu over in Taiwan, and then I'm going to go over in Cyprus. And so it's going to be with people that have been naturopath clients or business clients or friends. And it's going to be where in the world is not speaks. So I'll take my little trusty camera, I'll do my trip advisor, and I'm charting out to do it hopefully with timeshares or RCI. And I think it's a pretty good, ambitious idea for 2021. In the meantime, I'm now the exclusive sales agent for the independent contractors of Dexterity Independent. We are not Dexterity, but we are an independent agency that will do our best to represent Dexterity's products. If any of the Dexterity value-added resellers are already in place, they're going to take precedence, but we've got, I think, 9 states, and so we won't overlap because they've got 4 or 5 guys, and they sell a little differently than we do. So we're going to have John, Jake, Catherine Chandler, and we hope to have about 40 of our sales force in place by the end of the year. And I got 6 months to turn $3 million worth of sales. That's pretty reasonable. And I'm really excited. So we've got Leafy Cabinet, Trading Consultants, and Dexterity. And then we've got a magic program that is just unbelievable. It's not a magic program, it's a company that is going to revolutionize payroll, HR, etc. So the brainchild are Lee Larson, who's a wonderful, wonderful financial advisor, and I'll just call him Gentleman Larry. And Larry has forgotten more CPA than I'll ever know. And then I've got Catherine Chandler, and I'm blessed. And then we've got Neil, who is the CEO of Dexterity. And there may be a couple of other guys I'll mention later. But I want you to say thank you, and this has been The Night with Nosbigs, about 27 minutes.